Hi there. This is part one of two short video messages to ACM members. I just wanted to bring you up to date on a few things. Just a couple of days ago I was in Sydney with the other members of our executive. We had an excellent time, very productive, as we discussed the future of ACM and why we exist and what we want to do in the future. We talked about the questionnaire, and that was very interesting, that the feedback indicated very clearly that most people consider our core value and the main reason for joining ACM as fellowship. And of course that was our original purpose. And the main thing that I think we have to offer is fellowship. But obviously there are other things that a denomination or a movement can offer, and there are numbers of Pentecostal movements within our nation, and they range from those where marriage credentials are given, and basically that is all that is given and nothing is much required except the payment of the fee. And that range goes right across to the other end of the spectrum, where you find strongly centralised administrated organisations, where there's close supervision of members, leadership training, strong accountability, and often a strong identity and doctrinal emphasis. And you usually find that, financially speaking, the larger, the more administrative, accountable, where there's greater accountability, where there's more control, organisation required, it will be more expensive. It can range from at one end to just a few $100s, right up to many thousands of dollars to be part of a very hands-on and I guess even intrusive type of denomination. ACM's origins really come from a group of pastors and their churches who wanted to be part of a network of like-minded, autonomous churches that were fairly low-key, gathered around fellowship, received ministry input that was relevant, and where there was opportunity for prayer and encouragement of one another. And the annual conference and regional gatherings were the major places where this took place, apart from the individual connections that took place as well. Why did we become a denomination? Well, it was because it was becoming more and more difficult for local churches to receive marriage credentials from the government. They only wanted to deal with the denomination. So we formed a denomination that was fairly low-key and with just the minimum requirements for becoming one, and which really then would provide a service to our members so they could gain marriage credentials if they needed them. But always fellowship was the major emphasis. The annual conference, as I said, was always an important part of who we are and what we did. And it really did expect that all members would, if at all possible, attend the conference. We encouraged, and still do encourage, pastors to bring their spouse and any other leaders that they have in their church if they are able to make it. And so always the aim and the character of the conferences was it was low-key, informal in atmosphere. There was always time for fellowship around meals and throughout the conference, and there was easy access to leaders and to each other, and there was always opportunity to strengthen relationships where friendships could be forged and ministry connections could take place. As time has continued on, the pressure and stress of ministry has only increased, and more and more we realise that it's so important for pastors and those in ministry to come aside and rest a while and stop ministering and receive something themselves. And we always try to provide some high quality and relevant input, but as well as that, time for prayer, prophecy, advice and counsel as is needed. And so that's a little bit about what we talked about and what we are on about as ACM. Now, I'm going to go into part 2 and talk a little bit about the upcoming conference that's taking place in September.